That music, you can never get fed up of it. It is the sound of another Badminton Talk podcast, brought to you here from Dublin, Ireland. I'm with Mark Topping. Today is October the 9th, 2021. Mark Topping, good morning to you. Or yes, good morning it is.
Good morning, John Noble. I had a bit of a COVID scare this week, John.
Golly.
I thought I had COVID, but I went and got tested, and my results came back negative, so I'm COVID-free and back to full health again.
Well, Mark, it's great to see you here in the studio where we are recording this special Badminton Talk podcast, brought to you, of course, by, yes, there you go, the sound of the Q Gold and Silver shuttlecocks. So, Mark, what have we got in store today? Are we putting Michael on pause for a week, are we?
I think we should put Michael on pause this week. Just for 1 week. We'll bring him back. There's no doubt
I can hear the complaints coming in straight away. It was a popular podcast so far, you know?
Yeah, he is. He's a great, straight-talking guest. Absolutely brilliant guest. Absolutely brilliant for badminton. Yeah, no, John, I think what we should do is review the nationals that just were completed last weekend. I was riveted. I was glued to the YouTube channels coming out from Badminton Ireland, and I was watching as much as I could over the weekend. Brilliant stuff. What did you think? You were there. You were so lucky.
Oh, absolutely. Well, just before we jump into that, to review the first big event of the year in Irish badminton, the Nationals for 2021. Yes, we're going to do that today. Today, October the 9th. Actually, Mark, Barack Obama was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Did you know that? He was the 4th president in America. And you're talking to Nobel, you know, today. Is that kind of quirky?
One, I didn't know Barack Obama had won the Nobel Peace Prize. Something I don't really follow. Probably I should more. I suppose it's to honour the great and good and people who've done lots of good work for the world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And many people at the weekend, Mark, out in the National Indoor Arena did great things for badminton. You know, all the umpires and the lines people that volunteered their time and did a Trojan work. It was great to see Carol back on the seat. Seamus, I could hear him coming down the driveway, you know. But no better person than him, and of course all those that volunteered their time. So, Mark, you were watching, did you say, on YouTube? Was that what you were doing?
I was. I must have spent 10 hours getting onto YouTube, beaming it into my big TV, and I watched Saturday, all day Saturday and all day Sunday. And what was brilliant, I thought, is there were 4 courts, and you could... the way Philip, big shout out to Philip.
Oh yeah, okay, come on, we got to do it. Let's give Philip there we go, the Badminton Talk shout out. We always do this, the 8-second shout out. Absolutely legend in badminton. Where would we be without Philip McKeown, Mark?
I wonder, because when you look at what Badminton Ireland are doing relative to other countries in Europe, Philip had 4 courts streaming simultaneously, so I, as the viewer, could pick whichever court I wanted to watch. That isn't often the case. Really good setup, lovely camera angle.
Yes.
Really enjoyed.
And the scoreboard is clear, isn't it? You can see exactly at the moment who's doing what. Yeah,
maybe one small bit of feedback for Philip. I should maybe ring him directly. The scoreboard was good and very useful, but it sometimes, on my TV anyway, it was right up in the right-hand corner, and I could see the first set, but I couldn't see the second set score for some reason, so I did have to rely on the umpires.
The eyesight, any chance, Mark? No?
No.
Okay.
I think this is a technical issue, maybe with my TV, but maybe, Philip, just move that scoreboard over a little bit.
Yeah, so Philip will be listening to this broadcast, so if he's not at a rugby match or something like that, or a badminton match, I should say, as well, or watching, spectating, but... no better person. I'm sure he will have spotted that even ahead of you, Mark. I hate to kind of
sure he has.
sound that, but
no, I was texting back and forward to Philip as the tournament was going on, and particularly the men's singles final, which was superb quality.
Well, we're going to get to that now.
The viewing numbers, I was asking him how many were watching at the time, and he said about 140 people were watching that men's singles final. Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah, no, absolutely. They were the 140 people in the hallmark. They all were on their mobile. No.
They didn't need to be.
There was no spectators allowed in. The only way you got in if you had a juvenile, i.e. someone under 18, or if you were a coach and you needed to send it on to Conor Doherty. It was very, very well put together. You came through and you make sure your temperature when you entered wasn't above the normal average temperature, which is, I think, is around 35 or 36 or 7, something like that. And then you had the likes of, Craig and even Dave McGill. They're sitting on the seat there making sure you had your COVID certificate coming in. I was very impressed. Very professional. And of course you couldn't get a better place than the National Indoor Arena for social distancing and space. And anytime we didn't wear a mask, I don't know, who do you call the gentleman in red, the senior umpire?
The tournament referee?
Tournament referee.
Yeah, it was Dave Mullins.
Dave Mullins. It wasn't Angus, it was Dave Mullins. As soon as the mask was off, whoop, he was over. Take the mask back on. Even the players were out. There was no messing, and it was great to see that. I mean, because we all need to be kept safe until we're finally out of the wearing of the mask, which hopefully will be next month when we're at the Irish Open, but we shall talk about that a little later on. So,
all Badminton Ireland have got such a professional attitude to running tournaments. Is really, even pre-pandemic, the Badminton Ireland were running really good tournaments, particularly the Irish Open. I suppose they've built up a lot of experience. Greg Farrell would probably be at the heart of that. He is a coordinating logistics man.
Yeah, he stuck his head to me. He said, "Is this the Pink Panther, John? Are you doing the Revenge of the Pink Panther? You're going to put together your second version on them?" I said, "Steady on. I'm here to watch this one, but give me a good idea there." But yeah, Greg is a hard worker, isn't he? He's passion for the game, and he had everything 100%. The one thing funny I noticed, Mark, in the setup, you probably spotted it yourself, a sharp eye as you always are in your doubles play, mix play and all that, was that they had obviously the wonderful mats there on the court, but they'd no black background or blue background. They used the actual floor itself, which I actually thought was excellent.
Right.
I thought, you see a few lines from maybe the basketball or the football, but I actually thought it really looked well, and I think Greg would be happy to save him a lot of time having to take those mats up as well, and but it did look fine. I don't know if you even noticed it.
Yeah. Well, it's probably maybe for the Irish Open, you can bring that back because it's quite a visual thing, isn't it? If it's a lovely even colour, you're not sort of mixing up lines. So maybe from a presentation point of view, that might be the next step up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I have to say, it was like 4 courts laid out. I loved the way it was laid out, and it had the partition curtain. So you had your practice courts to, where you come into the hall. Although in the Irish Open, they'll probably have to have 5 courts, I suspect. So whether they will modify that, I don't know. But it was, I heard so many positive feedback from the players about the layout and the spectators. And then when it got to semi-finals, they mothballed it to 2 courts. And then when it got to the final, they did it to 1. And the only thing Philip was saying to me, I think it was Philip, we were just saying it would be wonderful if they could dim the lights. So for the final, you had a kind of all England experience. But I think the lights are, they either are on or they're off. And it's hard to switch certain ones off, and you'd need to have special lighting, I think. But maybe that's going to be for another challenge, I'm sure, the team can look at for the future. It's probably a bit early for next month, but a great idea, I thought, by Philip. Always looking to improve.
Yes, absolutely. I do remember playing a Danish Open many years ago, and it is a fantastic experience. The lighting setup, when we were playing, it was totally black. You could see you could hear the audience chatting away, but you couldn't see them.
Brilliant.
And all the lights. Well, it felt like you were in the theatre. You were the star. You walked onto this court. The spotlight.
But you are the star, Mark, coming out. You are. You've got to those finals or whatever, and you're walking out, and that's what you want. And then you want the fireworks coming up and the flares and the music in the background. There's Sylvester Stallone stuff and Ivor Tiger. And come on, absolutely, Mark. I think we can go even more. We can go higher. The bar can always be improved.
Yeah, and by the way, just to play against a completely black background is absolutely superb. You can really pick up the shuttle. It's
Yes.
amazing how light does just distract you a little bit. And you've a totally black background to play against. Wow, your game comes on. It really sharpens up.
Yeah, and then there's no kind of advantage or disadvantage at ends, because sometimes you have an end where you can see, either the spectators or you see another wall, and there's always can be a good and a bad end. I'm not talking about drift here, Mark. I'm just purely talking about ends. When it all goes dark, all ends look the same.
Yes, exactly.
So
Exactly.
Well, we are here, Mark Topping and myself are here on the, putting out this podcast on the 9th of October 2021, only 80 days to Christmas here on the Badminton Talk podcast, sponsored by, of course, the Q Shuttle, and to all our fans and followers throughout. Yes, Michael O'Mara is coming back. We have not forgot about Michael. We just wanted to give all our listeners a tiny little pause, because we thought it fitting to, I suppose, do a post-mortem on the first nationals in a while. Who's in form, what's our opinion, and these are our opinions. We're not saying they're the right ones, but they are opinions.
Yeah.
Having been at ringside, I can say, Mark, and having you been at Zoom side or YouTube side. So
Yeah.
shall we get started then?
Yeah, John, well, you were there. What a privilege to be there. I would have loved to have been there myself.
You were in spirit.
I was watching everything, courtesy of Philip McEwen, as I said before. And then maybe we start logically and review it event by event, and maybe women's singles.
Well, I'm going to play a little bit of themed music,
Okay.
and there is a relevance of this themed music based on my observations over the weekend. So after I play the piece of music, the themed music. You'll probably guess the title. You will guess the title. You'll probably guess the person, because you're old enough to remember that, Mark. Sorry. And I'll explain why, and we will kind of come back to this as well later on when we finish reviewing the 5 disciplines. Is that fair enough, Mark?
Sounds good, John. Go for it.
So put on your seatbelts, and we'll just play a little bit of music for the next maybe 30 and 40 seconds. So here we go. Okay, now, tune in. I hope you're getting the theme music, Mark.
Cliff Richard.
Yes! What's it called, Mark?
Let me guess. The Young Ones.
Oh, you can't play a song like that, can you?
What a melody.
Yeah. So, yes. Okay, one more. We're back into the main chorus. I can hear Brian Kelly dancing with Gene there in the background at home.
Once in every lifetime comes a love like this. Oh, I need you, you need me. Oh, my darling, can't you see our dreams should be dreamed together?
Yes, so we could listen to this all day, Mark, on a Saturday morning. What a better way to kind of enjoy yourself on a Saturday morning with this kind of music. So we'll lower down the music. Yes, Mark, you are absolutely right. It is Cliff Richard, and it is the Young Ones, as I'm looking at him here. Yes, so Mark, yeah, there was relevance, as they say, with regards to that music. The Young Ones, I noticed big time, coming through for the first time in a long time. New blood,
new generation,
and I think because of the COVID and it's 18 months later, maybe it wouldn't have been as noticeable a year ago, but you can see 2 years at that age is made a huge difference. And you know, they always say in marketing terms or business terms, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And if you look at the results, the proof of the pudding was in the eating.
Yes, absolutely.
The young ones, oh, there you go. What about that? Well, I better be careful.
Cliff Noble.
no, I think Mark Noble was good. I think I could see you there, kind of left and right. I could see you and Nikki now serenading on that one. You know,
that's a beautiful song.
Beautiful song. So yeah, that's a theme, and I'll come back to that. So I want our listeners here on the Badminton Talk podcast, of course, brought to you by the Q Shuttle, to keep that in mind, and then you can, if you agree, you can throw out a message on our social media on Saturday and say yes, but definitely there's a changing of the guards taking place.
Absolutely.
And I'm saying that now with a lot of passion and a lot of facts. So, Mark, where do you want to start?
Yeah, I think, shall we start at the women's singles? I mean, you were watching, and you were in a very fortunate position. You were coaching your daughter, Sophia Noble, and so you had coach's chair at the back of a court, and I suppose the only comment I would make on the women's singles, I'm a little bit disappointed, but this is the normal. Only 8 women can play singles in Ireland. Oh, that's
no, Mark. You have it. No, you have it wrong.
Because there's 27. 27.
No, they can't.
27 entered in the men's singles.
You hold on. You're saying 8.
Yeah.
You see, I was there. There was only 7 who actually played.
Oh, yes.
Now you've got to get your facts right.
You're right.
7 only took part, not 8. So
8
you're
entered.
Down. 7. 1 as a percentage of 8 is a lot. When you've only 8, so that 8 gives you a quarterfinal setup. So you had Kate. Well, it wasn't her fault. She managed to get the walkover, and good luck to her, and well done. We all would take that too, and went straight into the semi-finals. And I think Sarah had an injury from Poland.
Okay,
an injury, and she was been very careful with that, and she was absolutely right to. Unfortunately, she had to pull out of everything as a consequence. But that's the way it goes. So so Mark, we had 7. Okay, out of all the women that play badminton in Ireland, we had 7 players.
Yeah, I would just big shout out to the women badminton players of Ireland. Get out there and enter more tournaments. We want to see you playing.
Yes.
I think let's have equality between male and female. Let's match the men. If the men can get 27 in, why can't there be 27 women?
So you saying that winners that get the money, because Badminton Ireland give you a little do-re-mi for winners runner-up, maybe the women shouldn't get as much as the men because they didn't play as many matches, Mark?
Absolutely disagree with that, John Noble. I think women and men should be treated equally, but I'd love to see more women playing women's singles and the women's doubles event.
Yeah,
only 5 entries.
Yeah, well, Mark, when you look at the entries, and I don't want Rachel to feel old because Rachel, relatively speaking, is a very young player. You know, on the age of 24. You know, so she's 24. This is the year that she's 24.
Age is but a number, John.
Age is but a number, but she is the oldest player in the tournament. So you had a 24-year-old. And then I guess between maybe Nessa Flynn and Sophia, probably around the 16 mark. So we have an 8-year spread. And it would be nice to see, because it was great even to see the likes of Brian Moore. I don't want to jump too much quick into that, playing, bridging the age and get more people into these tournaments. And we should be encouraging. I think sometimes when a nationals comes up, people go get a bit scared about the whole thing, thinking I have to be a certain age, I have to be a certain standard. But, there's a lot of players would give a lot of these players a good run for their money, to use that expression. Obviously, the better players will come through up to the latter stages. But, I think personally, Mark, to get more ladies, more has to be done. You can't just expect the numbers to come in when the trend is there. What are we doing to ring clubs, ring players, ask them to enter? Are we doing enough? Well, I've been very direct on that. I don't think we are. And we do great things. There are great things been done by organisations, and I'd be the first to commend them all. But we're not shouting out enough to the ladies in badminton in Ireland, and we need to do that. Because I know there's some very good players there. Oh, you've been careful, Mark, maybe. Okay. Always the politician, Mark.
Well, no. I know.
Maybe, that was a maybe.
Badminton Ireland do have some responsibility in this, but I don't know. I think it's a personal responsibility. I think it's up to the women, badminton players in Ireland to, I'm going to get out there and show my stuff, and I want to go out and play. I want to challenge myself. I want to see. So I'm shouting out to the women badminton players to enter.
Okay, Mark, we hear you loud and clear. Let us know on our social media if you didn't know about the event. We'd love to know that. So we can, we know we need. It's one thing if you didn't know about it and you would have played, and there's another thing if you did know and you didn't play. So we need to find out which one, Mark.
Yeah.
What's the sequence? But anyway, yeah.
Going back to, let's talk about the matches themselves. I suppose the standout first round match was between Sophia Noble and Rachel Dara. And you were on the back of the court. I thought, particularly the first set, the quality of the women's singles between those two was a very high standard. But what did you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it would be. I think perhaps both players would have liked to have had each other a little later on in the tournament. But the draw is the draw, and we had Orla was number 1 seed and Kate was 2, and that's just the way it is. But the first set really, it was a cracker. The score was very close all along. You talk, Mark, about scoreboard pressure, and there wasn't much at the turn, a point or two, and really, to be quite honest, Sophia had the upper edge as we were coming towards, as the game was coming towards the back end of the first set. She was 18-15 up. Now, it isn't over at 18-15, and don't get me wrong, it was high-quality badminton. There was a lot of defending going on. There was a lot of attacking going on by Rachel. Sophia was pushing her around. Rachel was returning it. But Sophia couldn't get beyond that 18 point. And I think the experience with Rachel, she's an experienced player. She's out on the tour, many years now. So she used everything she could conjure up and kind of changed the rhythm of the game. All done really well, did it very professionally, and took the first set 21-18, which was really, I felt at that game, Sophia it needed that one to get the momentum ahead. It was she's played Rachel last year or the last time, and it was the first time in the NIA, wasn't used to the hall, and is much more used to it now because she trains there with the players. And if you look at where she's come from and where she is now, huge improvement, and that's great. And a really high quality game was able for Rachel to bring out the best. The second set was quite tightly contested up to 11. And then Rachel pulled away. A couple of mistakes made by Sophia, a couple of attacking shots by Rachel. I think Rachel was much more looser in the game. And when you have a lead, you can be much more aggressive. And it finished 10. So 21-18, 20-10. Rachel then took herself into the semi-finals. Great game to watch, absolutely great game of badminton. And that was that. So that was our... Rachel was then, beat Laura Comer, who happens to be Sophia's ladies doubles partner, in a very good game. Laura's really works hard on her game. I know that from talking with Valerie and Michael Turkington, and a lovely talented brother as well, Rory Comer. The Comers are always good supporters of badminton in Ireland. And a solid game, 21-17, a little tested in the first set, but the second set, again, similar scores to Rachel. If you look at the score, 21-17, 21-12. And therefore, there was Rachel head off with Orla Flynn. And the bottom half, you had, obviously, Kate got the walkover, and Anastasia Bogoslavia, who's... one of the hard-working players in badminton, You
like to see that.
Yeah, works hard, trains hard, and really pushed everything out in the first set, 22-20.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a great game. And again, I felt Anastasia needed that game. Usually the seeded players, they're good at perhaps winning in 3. The slightly, Nessa was just more solid in that. And but a great game. It could have went anyway, but in that set, sorry, I meant to say Anastasia took that set 22-20. My screen here is doing me little tricks in my eyes. And then the second set, you had Anastasia pulled through 21-10. So the right result, I felt, because the first set was won so tightly.
You're right. Okay. Yeah.
So
I actually didn't see that game, I must admit. So no comments.
you can't watch everything, Mark.
No. You've got a choice of 4.
You'd have to ask Nicky to start looking at the other match for you while you're watching. So that was it. There was then you had the four players. Orla played Rachel, and Anastasia played Kate.
And that was on the Sunday, wasn't it?
That was on a Sunday, yeah. All the semis went on Sunday. And to be quite honest, both semi-finals were one-way traffic, and I'm not trying to be disingenuous to any of the players. Rachel literally got out of the traps so fast, 21-3. Literally, that's like an upper punch blow in boxing. And come the second set, Orla did improve in the second set. But you always felt she was just trying to hang in, whereas Rachel was attacking, and she was bossing. She was the boss there by far. The results showed a slightly tighter match with Kate. Kate played Anastasia. I saw that game, and despite the fact that this final score was 21-12, 21-11, Anastasia put up a good fight. She rallied her, but there were times then the unforced errors just came in.
I did happen to watch that one, and what I observed, actually quite long rallies, good quality rallies, but the more experienced player, Kate, just had the edge. I think you can hit the nail on the head. Anastasia would then make an error after a long rally, and Kate just kept going, played well. Yeah,
and I think at the end of the day, Kate had her strategy because she invested in long rallies, and if she didn't win, she was okay. She knew the next couple of points afterwards, there's a good chance she was going to take the points. And then we had the final mark. It was between Rachel and Kate, and Rachel just dynamite start, just literally
warming up well.
Yes, warmed up well, but was had a very attacking, aggressive game. Good mindset, kept the pace on the shuttle, kept in on some of the rallies where maybe Kate might have taken it, and won the first set 21-8. I think again, Rachel's done that in all the matches she's played, except with Sophia, which she kept at a tight score in the first one, but the others were fairly straightforward. The second set, actually, Kate got into the game.
I saw that. Yeah.
She maybe there was, who knows, with players where they just a little tense on the occasion. Although Kate's a very seasoned player. But I think perhaps Rachel's made a few unforced errors there, so took her foot off the pedal, and fair play to Kate, she capitalised. But the winner was Rachel, 21-8, 21-17, and I mean she hasn't won that in a couple of years, so she was delighted to win that game.
Yeah,
there was a big burst, and I think she was a little emotional on the court. Actually, she was, and that's how much it means for her, and she trains all the time, and. It's like you either decide you're going to improve your game and get better, or you're not. And Rachel has kept the bar very high in Irish badminton. But it would be nice to see a couple of other girls really contest it tightly going forward. Maybe Sarah coming back in. So obviously Sophia will be there. Perhaps Kate can kind of and Orla can keep working on their game. So we need more. We need more girls in there to for the health of singles badminton.
Yeah, absolutely. The more rivals there are, the more challenges there are for the top players, the better. Big shout out to keep working on your game, and particularly maybe the strength and conditioning aspect of it. And keep working that strength and conditioning to make yourself a very strong badminton player. Yeah, I thought it was a great tournament. Despite just being a very small entry, I thought the quality of the final was, particularly the second set of the final, was good quality. Yeah. And you said it very well. Rachel has set a good high standard, and it's up to the other girls the other women to challenge, to try and close that gap. Yes, I was very impressed with Rachel. Strong, attacking mindset. Started a lot of games you could see the good, strong body language, sending that message, I'm going to try and win this early, and in many cases she did. She pushed.
She did, and there was no doubt about the outcome at the end.
The best player won.
The best player won the tournament on that day. But Mark, There's the Irish Open next month, so those girls could meet each other maybe in some of the rounds. There's another Irish Nationals taking place in a couple of months' time in February. It's exciting. So we'll see if Cliff Richard's young ones keeps coming through. It's hard to believe that at 24 you're the old one, but there you go. That's Irish badminton. So
she's moving into her prime year.
Into her prime year, absolutely.
I think, yeah. It's very good to see. And yeah, keep driving up the standards, Rachel, and everybody behind. You've got to really work hard to get ahead of Rachel. So keep going. No,
exactly. So, God, Mark, we've nearly finished our first podcast on this with the rate we're going. We just talked about the girls, ladies singles here, reviews sponsored by, of course, the Q Shuttle. And yes, thank you all for purchasing those Q Shuttles. I really appreciate that. Great feedback on those shuttles, Mark.
Yeah, durability.
Their durability. I mean, it's anyone who hasn't tried them, you'll see it's almost impossible to break a feather on them. They're absolutely fantastic. Anyway,
I would suggest, I think that if clubs went for the Q Shuttle, I think you could cut your shuttle costs for the season by at least 10%, if not maybe 20% is too bold a claim, but certainly in that range, 10 to 20% reduction in shuttle costs if the clubs went to the Q Shuttle.
Do you think, Mark, it might have been a bit cheeky? I was watching at the weekend, the tournament, and a couple of players were hitting, I won't mention the brand because that wouldn't be fair, but they're hitting a brand out on the shuttle court, but it was flying. The shuttles were flying.
Were they?
Yeah, they were flying. I had to pinch them. And I felt saying, so talking to somebody beside me, saying I could put them over a Q Shuttle here now. That would be the right speed. Would that have been a bit cheeky?
It would have been.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, okay.
They're
I had 6 tubes in the car, but I suppose it wouldn't have lasted. I wouldn't have had enough.
Well, you never know. Maybe could have got through 6 tubes for a tournament.
Yeah, but no,
probably not.
They had to do a bit of pinching. It was.
I did notice that.
It was
particularly in the men's
singles. Yeah, they were very, very fast, and you could see Tony Stevenson whacking it, and Jesus, it was almost hitting the wall. I mean,
I
it
saw
was
that.
really fast.
He tested someone. They were actually landing outside the back line, which is unusual.
Yeah, no, it was very unusual. That's probably a nice tee up for our next event to do a post-mortem on. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, what about the men's singles, John?
Well, do you want to give me the statistics and numbers? How many entered, Mark?
Yeah, 27. 27 entries in the men's singles. Very good. Although we could get a few more than that, couldn't we?
Oh my golly, yeah. So when we run the Q Badminton Shuttle, I don't over-Q this today. If there's, but there was a lot of Q-Aggians who were out, who represented at the Nationals. Did you like that? I was saying that to Shane, and he was looking at me twice. I said I could call worse things, a Q-Aggian, you know. But sure, we could fill Baldoyle on those dates. We're putting 32 into those men's singles without a push, and there's only a fraction of them that took part in the Nationals. So I think we could get 64 in the Nationals if there's potential there. Now maybe we're being a bit tough on entries as the first tournament back.
Yeah, that's true.
And people maybe don't feel. I know a couple of the players now. To be fair to a couple of players, and I won't mention them. You know, if you hadn't been vaccinated, you couldn't have played. So there was a restriction. So there was a couple of those players too.
I'll give you my example. I didn't feel that I had any time to prepare for the Nationals, so I wasn't in good shape. I didn't really want to go out and play. So I would say there was a lot of people. I'm a doubles specialist, as you know, John.
Yes.
And doubles only came back. I had my first game of doubles about 10 days before the Nationals. And I was shocking, John. I wasn't good.
Were you playing too much singles? You were flying like a bird on the court of the singles there a few weeks ago. I've never seen you. 67 minutes non-stop. Was that what we pushed you out? Yeah.
I enjoyed the singles, but the doubles it's fast twitch. You've got to have that explosive movement, and I had lost it, and so I didn't feel and I would say a lot of badminton players, in fairness, probably didn't feel that they had enough access to court time to give themselves enough confidence to have a shot at one of the biggest tournaments of the year.
Yeah, I was half thinking of playing myself, Mark. I mean, you laugh.
I know.
I've never played a Nationals. I've played an Autumn Open, which I've always enjoyed, or a Leinster. But I was tempted. But I thought, you know what? I really want to enjoy and watch the games, and I wanted to I wanted to see everything unfold, and I was so glad for this particular event I did. But I do encourage, and that's why, Mark, if we look down at the entries, I mean, you had, if I kind of give the clubs out, you had Badminton Academy, which was Nat, and you had Ethan Trishtel, a Kewagian from Listowel Juveniles, Robbie Frost from Mount Pleasant, you had Tony Crowley from Galway, Matthew Ella from the Olympia Badminton Club. You had Patrick Martin. There's a dodgy club called South Dublin Badminton Club, Mark.
Steady. You're talking to the club chairperson.
Oh, sorry, yeah, okay. So you had a South Dubliner there. You had Sean Patrick from PBAI, yeah?
Brilliant.
You then had another Galway Lawn Tennis Club, Tom Doherty, and Jamie Oslop. Hadn't seen him in a while, from Carrickfergus. Ray Vader, Doc Vader from Mount Pleasant, and we had Tony Stevenson, the talented Tony Stevenson. Always love watching Tony. Always.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Entry from Alpha. That is quite amazing.
I mean, yes, very, very disappointing on that. But maybe they're going through a knockdown rebuild. There's a lot of young juveniles, but I heard. Am I writing this now? Hopefully, you better be careful when I throw my thoughts out. Kieran Chambers is retired from Badminton. Yeah, I heard he has, and if I'm wrong, my apologies. I heard he's retired from Badminton, and also there is a rumour.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Everybody's listening to hear this
I
now.
love rumours. Yeah.
Okay, so there is a rumour. Yeah, that's the rumour sound. Mark Brady is going to hang up his runners. This was his last tournament. It's not to say that he'll be working with Badminton Ireland in a capacity. Now, I stand to be corrected because I didn't get that from Mark.
Player.
And he's a super player, so I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah,
so
he's committed. He's
been
for the last
trained
6 or 7 years.
Absolutely,
really fit and strong.
Absolutely. So we'll check that one out just to be sure.
Yeah.
Louis Lyons from Dunboyne, Ben Parr from Waterford, Ryan Foxhughes, Galway again, Vincent Ponzanosa from Mount Pleasant, Brian Moore from Alfred. We had two.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to include Brian Moore, Mark.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an Alpha true and true.
Absolutely.
He's our vintage. He's our vintage, Mark. You had another Nagun, which was Long, as we know him, from Carrick-Galine. We have Callum Thomas from Waterford. We had from Limerick. We had Nelloy, I don't know, Mere. We had also Jack O'Brien from Galway, Stuart McCollum from Alpha. Mark, you said no Alpha.
So no, you
three. You see, Mark, I think the eyesight is starting to. Come on, it's three now. If we keep going, we'll have a team. Conor Bradley from that South Dublin Badminton Club, I think.
Brilliant club.
Dylan Over from Mount Pleasant. Richard Kong from Galway. Dodgy part of the world, Stramullen, Scott Mulday, but I think it's still a solid place. What do you think?
Yeah, well, he's one of your young ones, I think.
He's the young ones, that's right. Yeah,
he could feature heavily.
Yeah, he is exactly one of those young ones. Yeah. Okay, so we're not going to go back into that just now. We have, of course, another Mount Pleasanter, Fergal Hannon, and finally we have from Sligo City, BC, the talented Jonathan Dolan. So that was the entry, Mark.
Brilliant, yeah. And so which of the young ones stood out? Or give us 3 or 4 young ones to look out for in the future.
Okay. In no particular order, because I get shot for this, and of course these are opinions. But I thought Matthew Chung had an exceptionally good tournament. Well. I mean, he ended up playing Nat. And I know the score would be, if you were looking at the score, he was beaten 5 and 6. You'd probably think, oh God, yeah, that's nothing.
That's a beating. Yeah.
He played fantastic.
Yeah, I watched him.
He was terrific. And if ever there's a match that a score doesn't justify it, that was the score. He gave everything. And he gave the kitchen sink on that. That could be him trying to ring me now, but we'll have to just leave him off the air. The demand these days, Mark. I know. Maybe it's another.
Media.
No. I think. Do you know what I think it is? I think it's. To be honest, it's another order for those Q shuttles. The Badminton Talk podcast sponsored by the Q shuttle. But anyway, let's hope so. Matthew, terrific.
Yes,
absolutely.
I agree. I thought he played very well.
He is
strong.
Yeah. He's strong, and Matthew's 16, so he wasn't the youngest. He wasn't, the youngest of the young ones, as we're trying to tee that up again. Sean Patrick had a very, very good game against Tony Stevenson. It went to the wire, 21-19, 11-21, 21-18. I don't know if you saw it, but there was an incident towards the end.
Yeah, what was the incident?
Oh, you see, you're the politician again. You get me to do the dirt. Okay, that's fine, Mark.
Oh, was that the sort of a line call? That,
Okay,
it was a smash down the line. and Sean
yeah.
thought it was in. It was called out.
Yeah.
But Sean didn't really agree with the umpire. And spent a minute or two debating with the umpire whether that was in or out.
Well,
Would that be a fair summary?
Yeah, and I was ringside. I was behind, and I want to be very, because we spoke to Carl Farrow many months ago, and we know the Trojan work they do. The shot was out. The shuttle was out. There's no doubt. It was definitely out.
Right.
I can tell you that. I can tell you. But it happens in badminton, and you have to take your calls. And maybe he'll have got a good call during that match, and nobody complains. So you got to balance things up.
Yeah.
But he let it get to him.
Did he?
He let it get to him. Because afterwards he went chasing after what you call the official umpire in the red.
Davy Mullen, the tournament referee.
Yeah, he went straight around trying to, but it's too late. And I felt there was the chance Sean had to take Tony. I'm not saying Tony wouldn't have won, but he.
Did I detect that Tony might have had a slight injury? I just felt from the YouTube, it looked like he was favouring his right leg a little bit.
Yeah, he had.
He seemed to be protecting his right leg.
he seemed to have that. I know sometimes in badminton tournaments these things happen and there's no injury. It does. It wouldn't be the first or last. But I was speaking to Tony later on, and he told me, it. He plays rugby as well, so he puts a lot of pressure on his foot. And I think a tournament like this, particularly at this level, he wouldn't have been back into that groove as frequently as he would have been in a couple of years ago. So he had to slightly, rebalance himself. So that perhaps, he might have taken the first set, but the fact that Sean did, I think he got the best out of Tony.
Yeah. It was a cracking game, actually. I enjoyed watching that game.
Yeah,
he's another young one for the future.
He is. Sean Patrick is. He's driving his car. He's 19. I think he's 19.
Yeah, so you got Matthew Chong, 16. Sean Patrick,
19. And so we have the young ones. And Mark, we have to wrap it up there at the young ones on this podcast. Yeah, so we're going to have to play this out now with the young ones, because we're going to have to do part 2 of the post-mortem of the Irish close next week.
Okay, John.
Are you ready for that?
Let's do it.
We've spoken so much about the young ones and the current ones. So we're listening here to Cliff Richard on the Badminton Talk podcast, The Young Ones, and of course this podcast has been brought to you by the Q Shuttle. So yes, it is time for us to take our leave here, Mark. Yes, Mark, it's time for us to take our leave here on the Badminton Talk podcast. It's been brilliant talking to you and getting your views. Have you enjoyed it so far?
Absolutely, John. I just loved watching the Nationals at the weekend. Brilliant stuff. Well done, Badminton Ireland. Yeah,
well done, Badminton Ireland. And we will continue with this post-mortem next week. And, of course, then we'll be back to the one and only Michael O'Mara. Yay! For part 3, Michael, we are coming. So, Mark, any plans for this weekend? It's this Saturday.
Back to work. The coaching work has really come back with a bang, John. So, I'm back in Whitehall Road Junior Badminton Club.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic.
I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on Saturday afternoon.
Brilliant. Well, Mark, you enjoy Whitehall Road Badminton Club. I'm back, continue to do coaching with some with Sophia, some with Dylan, and some with myself.
Good man.
So, we thank you for listening to the Badminton Talk podcast here, wherever you are listening. And Mark, see you next week.
See you, John.
Okay, bye to everyone. Bye-bye.